In July of 1858, Thomas Wills began his letter to the editor of the local sporting Bell's Life in Victoria. Dear Sir, now that cricket has been put aside for some months to come, and the cricketers have assumed somewhat of a chrysalis nature, for the time being only it is true, rather than allow this state of torpor to creep over them and stifle their now supple limbs, why cannot they, I say, form a football club and form a committee of 3 or more to draw up a code of laws? Indeed, crowds of young gentlemen would eagerly take up Will's suggestion and begin playing football matches in the parks of Melbourne throughout the winter of 1858, with the rules often borrowed from the traditions developed at various UK schools, such as rugby school, which Tom Wills had attended himself. Following a summer cricket season that saw Victoria defeat New South Wales, the appetite for winter recreation in Melbourne continued to grow in the void left by cricket, and a scratch match was organised by the new Melbourne Football Club on the 14th of May 1859 to start the new season. With disagreements over the rules reported from the match, a committee was formed to come to an agreement over which rules the club should follow. On May 17, 1859, William Hammersley, James Thompson, Tom Wills and Tom Smith met at the Parade Hotel opposite the MCG to draft the Melbourne Rules. 10 rules that laid out how a match of football should be played. We'll break down what these rules are and how they would have worked, fill in some evident gaps, and even imagine what one of these early matches could have looked like. Rules 1 through 4 mostly speak to the setup of the game and the playing field. The first rule outlines rather vaguely the makeup of the field, declaring that 1. The distance between the goals and the goalposts shall be decided upon by the captains of the sides playing. Rule 2 states, the captains on each side shall toss for choice of goal. The side losing the toss has to kick off from the centre point between the goals, with no mention of a centre bounce. Rule 3 still works the same today, that a goal must be kicked fairly between the posts without touching either of them, or a portion of the person or any player on either side. And Rule 4 provided some welcome clarity to Rule 1, with some more details around the makeup of the field. It illustrated that the game shall be played within a space of not more than 200 yards wide, the same to be measured equally on each side of a line drawn through the centre of the 2 goals. And the 2 posts, to be called the kick-off posts, shall be erected at a distance of 30 yards from each side of the goalposts at both ends, and in a straight line with them. This more or less lays out the dimensions for a rectangular field. These early parkland games were not necessarily played on ovals, but would adjust to the size of whatever free space could be found. As is the case today, matches would have been played on a variety of different sized grounds, and as early football was primarily played in parks, before eventually moving to cricket ovals in around the 1870s, they had to be more flexible with what was available. The remaining rules, 5 through 10, outline how the game is played and are a bit more self-explanatory. Rule 5 covers kickouts. In case the ball is kicked behind goal, any one of the side behind whose goal it is kicked may bring it 20 yards in front of any portion of the space between the kick-off posts, and shall kick it as nearly as possible in a line with the opposite goal. These posts would later be called behind posts, as we know them today, but not for a few more decades. This mandated down-the-middle approach is also an interesting contrast to the kick-out freedom observed in today's game. Rule 6 declared that any player catching the ball directly from the foot may call mark. He then has a free kick, no player from the opposite side being allowed to come inside the spot marked. In the absence of strict or dedicated umpiring, players were to self-adjudicate when a mark had been taken, and there's no listed minimum distance for a mark to be awarded. Rules 7 and 8 are where things really look different to the modern game. 7 reads, tripping and pushing are both allowed but no hacking when any player is in rapid motion or in possession of the ball, except in the case provided for in Rule 6, which is when a mark has been taken. Hacking refers to deliberately kicking your opponent's lower legs and shins, and was popular in school football matches. It was banned to make games more attractive to adult players who didn't have the time or desire to nurse bruised shins at work all week. Disagreements over hacking also led to the split between the Rugby Football Union and the Football Association in the UK. Rule 8 has not stuck around either, that the ball may be taken in hand only when caught from the foot or on the hop. In no case shall it be lifted from the ground, which we take to mean that if the ball rested on the ground, it would eventually become soccer until someone was able to kick it up for another mark. Rule 9 says that when the ball goes out of bounds, the same being indicated by a row of posts, it shall be brought back to the point where it crossed the boundary line and thrown in at right angles with that line. Not too dissimilar to what we see today, although there's certainly some detail lacking in exactly who throws the ball and how it should be thrown. Rule 10 was the most important distinction from rugby, that the ball, while in play, may under no circumstances be thrown. While this and other aspects of the game, like kicking a goal and marking, have remained largely unchanged in over a century and a half, some key differences do stand out. And here's how a passage of play could have looked with these rules. The Melbourne Football Club reportedly used red and blue ribbons to separate their teams when playing scratch matches, so let's adopt these colours here. The red team wins the toss and chooses the kick to the right of screen, so the blue team starts the game with a kick-off. They launch the ball forward, and it is caught by a defender from the red team who shouts mark and takes an unimpeded kick. The red team kicks the ball into space, where it bounces onto the wing and stops in the grass. A player from the blue team approaches the ball in rapid motion, so a red player trips them over and goes for the ball themselves. Remember, they can't pick the ball up, so the red team soccers it off the ground and along the wing, and then up to another teammate who shouts mark. They have a shot for goal, but miss to the left. The blue team brings the ball back inside the kick-off posts and kicks it from 20 yards out as straight as they can down the middle of the field. The ball is marked by a blue teammate and kicked again on an angle. Missing its target, the ball tumbles all the way outside a row of flags marking the boundary. Someone, I'm not sure who to be honest, then throws the ball back in at a right angle to the boundary. It's caught by a blue player who whips around and kicks a goal. Not super elegant, but you get the picture. In addition to a couple of grey areas, you may have also noticed some key omissions from today's game. And it's no surprise, with today's Laws of the Game document now spanning over more than 70 pages. Firstly, there's no mention of the shape of the ball, and it's likely whatever was available, oval or round, was used. Handballing is also nowhere to be seen, and wouldn't emerge for another 30 years or so. There's no real mention of timekeeping, and the accepted custom of the day was that the first team to 2 goals would win, and that was easier said than done, with large crowds chasing the ball through uneven fields. It was not uncommon for sunset to end a match without a winner being declared, and in some cases, matches would be played over multiple Saturdays until a winner was declared. The Melbourne Football Club Committee would meet again in July 1859 to tinker with the new rules after a few months' worth of matches had been played. At this meeting, tripping, holding and hacking were strictly prohibited, and the ball was allowed to be taken in hand at any time, but could not be carried further than was necessary for a kick. Whether they be perfect or not, these are the first official iterations of the game we love today. And while lots is the same, lots still has changed. So in another 170 years of football, I wonder what the game will look like next.